Hey guys, Jack here coming to you from the aviary. I got a cool little thing I wanted to share with you today. Number one, my house sitter while I was gone rebuilt my aviary, though I do see a fairly large gap up there that I'll have to take care of. That's no big deal though. Other than that, he's got it all closed in for me now. The repairs to the damage that we had, and that means critters can come in. But critters are what I want to talk to you about today. And I'd already started the video and we had an interruption, so I had to stop. So unfortunately, I'm not feeding now. You can see those little bitty orange guys in there. Those are Shubunkin goldfish. I'm just gonna see if I can get real close to them and don't move if they'll keep feeding. All right, so anyway, you might wonder, well, what's the big deal about these little baby Shubunkins? I did not intentionally anyway put them in there. What I did is I went to one of my other ponds, a pond that happens to have Shubunkin goldfish in it, and instead of getting new vegetation, I simply reused the vegetation that I had, which is this plant right here. And you can see that these have really long roots. Now what goldfish do when they breed is the male will force the female up into something like that. That's like ideal. And she'll deposit her eggs on those root masses. So some sort of weed, something that dangles down in the water, that's what they like. So that's why a lot of people use a thing called spawning mops, which are just yarn tied to something that floats. And then that way, what breeders will do is they'll have breeding goldfish. They'll put their spawning mop, you know, in the water. They'll observe breeding behavior, and they'll remove their spawning mop and put it into a nursery tank. That's what I did. I just didn't realize that's what I was doing. I knew it was a possibility, but I actually thought it was a little bit late in the year based on when I had witnessed spawning activity in my ponds. But now I have little baby Shubunkins in there. Now, Shubunkin goldfish are a really cool fish, and I know you're not really seeing them very good. There's one back there. Oh, here they're coming out. Anyway, Shubunkins are a really cool fish. They look like a koi, and but they don't get big like a koi, and they produce less waste than koi. So for small ponds, and this is going to be too small. They're going to have to be moved out of there at some point. But I'm going to let them grow up in there. Why not? They you know, like in a 250-gallon pond like this, I was thinking 6 adults in here. That was my plan. In fact, I just ordered 12 adults, 6 for here and 6 for the other little pond that I just built, because they're a great alternative to koi, because you have the blue colors in them, the mottled colors, the oranges and the whites, and the flowing fins and all. But you know, you're talking about a fish that gets 4 to 6 inches versus a fish that can get 3 feet. Obviously, we don't want a 3-foot koi in this 1-foot deep, shallow pond that's about 6 foot by 9 foot, 250 gallons. That's not really a good idea. But Shubunkins, and there they are, hanging out. As far as this pond, how this is going, we're getting some string algae in it, and when that happens, the only thing you can do is mechanically remove it. I've been doing that. I've got an explosion. I can't really show them to you right now because it's light out. It's actually a lot easier to see them in the dark with a flashlight. But a kind of an explosion of cherry shrimps. Those were intentionally introduced, plus they came in on the vegetation from my other ponds, and they have been overwintering for me just fine. I actually had probably the biggest spike in my population of cherry shrimp during the winter last year, more than I even have now. Tremendous numbers of colors and variations popping up. If I ever get back into purposely breeding them, I have a huge seed stock. I've actually thought about selling them on eBay, though I don't know if it's worth the work for me, as mudblood shrimp. Basically, you don't know what you're going to get, and even buying some more different colors and throwing them into my tanks and letting nature take its course and seeing what happens. But that's happened. The other thing that's happened, though, is you see right there, you'll see those little pink guys swimming around. Those are called Rosy Red Minnows. If you watch my earlier videos of this, you might have saw where I put 1,000 of them in there. I'd estimate there's maybe 100 left. That's 900 gone. Did they die? Well, they died, but they didn't die that way. Until I got that door fixed, I was putting a piece of plywood up against that door. And when I put that plywood up against that door, I didn't, you know, you leave it kind of at an angle so that it'll stay up. And it was a heavy piece of plywood that I knew the dogs wouldn't knock down or whatever. Well, there was enough of a gap behind that door that one of the ducks, she figured out that she could slide in there and then come around, and look at that. So she found this, and she was swimming in there, and then she found those guys. And unlike the Gambrosia minnows that are also in here, they're a lot easier to see. And they're nice, big, fat, plump, fathead minnows is what they really are. And, hey, gee, that's candy. So she spent a couple days cleaning out my supply of minnows. One day I finally came in here and I heard quack, 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 and I turned around and she was hiding over in the rest of the aviary. So I chased her out and I realized what had happened to all my minnows. So that's what's been going on here. I've been on vacation. So a little quick video for you as I come back. One more thing before we go. My experiment with doing ebb and flow aquaponics with the new way, which is, this is a 2-pipe system. There's no siphon in this system. Let's see if it's not cycling. It'll be easier to show you. There it is. So water comes in through that lower one from the pump and it overflows here, and that sets the level. When the pump cuts off, all that happens is the water goes back down the delivery pipe and back into there. Now, the thing that's interesting is this system does not have enough fish in it to adequately be growing plants in a very healthy, bright, vibrant, green way. So, what's going on? Why do these, look, this is a sweet potato that I just stuck a slip in. Even this pepper looks really good. You can see it's got a little bit of chlorosis down low. Not bad, but the new growth is all just banging. Beans, banging. Celery, just gorgeous. And I have another system that I need to rebalance. It's not balanced well, and I'm not doing anything to supplement it. And my celery does not look like this. It looks more like lighter than that color. What's going on? How is this happening? I'm just taking a little bit of Dr. Earth about once every 2 weeks and sprinkling it right around the surface. And I have this set so like it's getting wet maybe a ½ inch down. It's not ever wetting the surface. So I've got enough media in there, and I've got my level set to where you never see the surface really wet. Maybe a tiny bit damp as the water wicks up into those clay pebbles. And I've gone to clay pebbles for my cap. These are the cheaper ones versus the Leica, and they work just as well, and they're about half the price. Anyway, so what happens is very, very small amounts of that Dr. Earth are being pulled in. It's not, if some people were concerned, like, it's gonna kill your fish. No, it's not gonna kill my fish. The fish are gonna produce more nutrient that's gonna get handled by the system than that's gonna put into the system, because it's such a very slow release, like a time capsule, right? A time release capsule that you would take for a disease or something. So instead of dumping all the medication at once, it slowly releases in your body. That's what's going on here. And it's taking, you know, a couple weeks before you don't see evidence of it anymore. And it finally is all gone. So I'll probably add a little bit more this evening. It's working fantastically. And it has me thinking that that's a really great way to do aquaponics and make sure that you're not short on any of your nutrients, because Dr. Earth, being a good full spectrum organic fertilizer with mycorrhizal fungi and beneficial bacteria, is doing a great job with everything except this. See, that's blight. I deal with so much tomato blight, and I always thought that aquaponics or hydroponics was going to be the thing that got rid of the blight for me. You know what got rid of the blight for me? Planting an ass load of tomatoes over there. I have so many tomatoes this year, I don't know what to do with them. They're growing in the ground. I made a mistake. I planted too many tomatoes in the aviary, and they're choking out my peppers. I need to thin that out a little bit more, but life is good here on the farm. And I am back from my vacation in Florida fully recharged. You might want to check out my podcast today. You'll find it at thesurvivalpodcast.com. And look at the date of publication on this video. If you're watching it in the future, you can go back and find the episode. I don't remember what it's going to be. I've been gone for almost 3 weeks of vacation, but I'm fully rebooted, fully recharged. A lot more content is coming, and a lot's going to be going on in the aviary.